Hello everybody, welcome back. Jim here, coming to you once again from my cozy little Tokyo apartment on this fairly chilly and gloomy mid-November night. So I think for this video I'm gonna throw in some extra warm music and imagery just to help warm me up a little bit. Tonight I am answering another viewer-submitted question, though this time not something that really came from like a single viewer. This is something that comes up fairly often in the comments for these conversational vlog-style videos, and that is people wanting to know how to make friends in Japan, because I've made a lot of videos about various aspects of living in Japan, or at least my experience with living in Japan, but I haven't really made a whole lot of videos, or I don't think any videos, on sort of like the social aspects of living here, which is obviously a very important aspect. It's would be pretty lonely if you went to some country, really anywhere in the world, and you just didn't have any friends and felt like a complete outsider. I've tried to avoid that as much as possible, and I imagine everybody else would want to as well. So I have a handful of suggestions that I've written down here as far as making friends in Japan, and I tried to keep it, I don't know, like a little bit diverse as far as like online or like social events and things like that, because I know not everybody is necessarily a social butterfly, so certain things work better for different people. Also, some of this, it applies to basically anywhere you are in the world, because I do have some online options that I think are really useful if you want to make friends in Japan. So you could be really anywhere in the world, and boy, that's the glory of the internet, isn't it? It keeps us all together. It's a communications tool that people the world over can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another, as Ben Affleck so aptly put it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Pay attention, folks. You're going to be swimming in friends after this video, I promise. First up, though, I have here language exchange, and this is one that's really easy to get into and very useful. It's doubly useful if you are studying Japanese, or if you would like to start studying Japanese. This is a good way to do that and make some friends. Basically, language exchange, there are a lot of Japanese people that study English as a second language. They study a lot of different languages as a second language, but I would say the majority of people studying languages in Japan, they're studying English as a second language. So there is really no limit to the places on the internet where you can find people living in Japan or abroad who are studying English and are looking for people to just conversate with so that they can practice their English essentially in text and in chatting as well, whether it's one-on-one in person or presumably over Skype or things like that. There are a lot of people out there trying to do that, so if you would like to also, if you just want to participate in that and just help them learn English, that's cool. But if you want a little back and forth, you want to practice some Japanese and they practice some English, that's also a possibility. So I would recommend that. Really, you can go to Facebook. There are a bunch of Facebook groups that are dedicated to Japanese language exchange. So literally just go to Facebook, type in Japanese language exchange, and a whole bunch of groups will all pop up, and you can go in there and meet people and start chatting and make Facebook calls and all that kind of stuff. There are also entire websites dedicated to Japanese language exchange, and I have just 3 of them pulled up right here in front of me. One is mylanguageexchange.com. Another one is conversationexchange.com, and a third one is called italki.com. But you can just go Google Japanese English language exchange, and all these sites will come up. I will say I've never actually used a language exchange site before. I've never done any kind of Japanese language exchange ever, but I have friends who have, and they've made actually like really lasting friends by doing this. It's actually can be, I would say, a profession if you're actually living in Japan, because they have what's referred to as eikaiwa, which are just conversational schools where people come to practice their English. So you literally just sit there and have a conversation with people, and that's what you're paid to do. So I would say language exchange, especially if you're somewhere else in the world, you're not in Japan, and you just want to like meet some Japanese friends. You're intending to eventually make a trip to Japan or something to that effect, and you want to have some friends before you get here. This would be a great way to meet people and just get friendly, and also it serves a purpose. You're helping them learn, they're helping you learn, and it can be done entirely online, so that is very helpful. Also, this is something else. This is really only applicable if you are actually in Japan, but there are, again, on Facebook, there are a ton of groups dedicated to just like meeting up and having fun, hanging out, having a good time. So you can go to Facebook, and I've got some of these groups pulled up right now. Just go and look up, if you're in Tokyo, just type in Tokyo Meetup, or Osaka Meetup. Really, anywhere you are, just type in the city and meeting up, or just type Japan Meetup and see what pops up. But right now I'm looking at pages, Tokyo Meetup, Tokyo Gaijins, which is like more of a foreigner community, Welcome Tokyo, which describes itself a great opportunity to meet a lot of new friends and join in on some events. One says outdoor, sports, leisure, recreation, parties, and social events. One is called Stand Up Tokyo. So everybody congregates at these stand-up comedy clubs, and I guess that would be a fun thing to do. So yes, if you're in Tokyo, or you're going to be coming here and you want to know where some happening things are, where you can go and meet some people and sort of be social and congregate and all that cool stuff, just type in Tokyo Meetup or Japan Meetup or whatever in Facebook, and you'll find all these groups dedicated to just getting people together in person to just hang out. Maybe go to a festival or a bar or a club, or really anything. Or like this one says, go do some outdoor sports, leisure. There's a lot of that in Japan, especially if you like to ski and snowboard. There's that kind of stuff. There's I mean, baseball is always popular. So go have a look at some of that. Also, I mean, most of Japan is kind of like, it's forests and mountains and stuff, even right outside of Tokyo, or around Takao and Fuji and all that. I mean, there's camping, there's all kinds of stuff. All that can be kind of organized and accessed via these Facebook groups. So that's a great way. Again, instead of, you know, if you're not comfortable with just walking around on the street and just saying hi to every person that passes by you and be like, hi, do you want to be my friend? This is a good way to get out there and meet a whole bunch of people entirely online, and then, you know, make that little circle of friends, and then you all get together and pal around, and a good time was had by all. So that's another good resource for finding friends. Next up, I have written here events, festivals, and conventions. This is more for like, well, for the festival side of things, I mean, there's no shortage of more like traditional festivals in Japan. Things like Tanabata, and I mean, there are festivals in the winter and the spring, all kinds of commemorative stuff. So those can be fun to go to, especially if you have someone to go with. But if you are really more interested in those kind of like culturally relevant kind of things, you can go there and just sort of like be open to it, and just like ask questions about, you know, why are you wearing that, and what is this game or this food, or what is the, you know, the purpose behind this festival. If you're like inquisitive and like receptive, typically people are going to be like very open and willing and happy to share that information with you, and that's just a great way to like just break the ice and sort of get to know people and get to know your surroundings as well. But in addition to festivals, there are all kinds of different events and conventions that those can be great places to go if you have specific hobbies. So what I'm thinking of is maybe like music festivals. You like a specific kind of music, going to a festival. Usually if you go to any kind of music festival, everybody's chilling out, having a good time, so people are just in a really social mood. So go to a music festival. If anime is more your thing, there are always anime conventions. And cosplay, oh my gosh, the cosplay. If you are someone who's really into cosplaying, put on your favorite cosplay, go to one of those conventions, and then just start hamming it up with people. People are gonna, you know, more often than not be interested in what you're wearing or what you're doing, especially if you find someone you guys link up, you have a really strong common interest. That's a great way to sort of get to know people a little bit. This has happened for me. I've been at actually a Tokyo Game Show. I've met and made friends there that actually still have, just by virtue of like a t-shirt I was wearing, like a specific kind of Sega t-shirt. And then a buddy of mine who's originally from Brazil, I was wearing a Master System t-shirt. I was wearing my classic Game Room t-shirt that had a Master System on it. And he was Brazilian, and he just spotted me in the audience, and he was like, wow, cool, like, I love Master System. Can I take a pic with you and everything? I was like, yeah, sure. So we just, you know, stood there, had a talk about, you know, Sega and Master System and everything. And then I don't think he knew what classic Game Room was, so I explained that to him as well. But we stood there, you know, we talked for about 10, 15 minutes, and then exchanged Line, which is like a communications app, and we're still friends now. We still keep in touch every once in a while, so stuff like that is great. Again, those are the kinds of things that you can find by like Googling it, or just going to Facebook and looking for like anime conventions, or video game conventions, or music festivals, or really anything. But there's no shortage of events and places, and just where people are getting together and just like congregating, socializing over some shared interest, whatever it may be. And that leads me to the last suggestion I have for people seeking to make friends here in Japan, and this is one that really works very well for me: drinking. Booze. Booze is the social lubricant, as they say. And that works a lot for me because, yeah, typically when people are drinking, they're extra social, aren't they? But in particular, what has helped me to meet a lot of people in Tokyo and keep them as friends is there's no shortage of bars that are themed, that have they appeal to some kind of interest or hobby. And when you combine that, two people who are into the same thing and two people that are drinking, you know, everybody's just extra friendly. So for instance, I'm a music lover, and in particular, I like heavy metal and punk rock. So I go to heavy metal bars and punk rock bars, and you just walk in, and typically anyone there is gonna be like extra happy to, you know, because your favorite music is playing and the beer is flowing and everybody's just talking about favorite bands and songs and stuff, and everybody's wearing, you know, t-shirts or jackets with their favorite bands on them. And this is, you know, I can't count how many times I've been at God's, for example, in Shinjuku, and just wearing a t-shirt with, you know, some band on it, White Zombie or Slayer or something, or a jacket with like Death or Children of Bodom, and you know, somebody just sees it and they're like, hey, I love that band, and then I'll be like, hey, and whatever they're wearing, I'm like, yeah, I love that band too. And then if you can request music, hey, request this, let's listen to that, and all kinds of stuff, and you're singing the songs and everything. That's great. When you have a common interest like that, something you're really passionate about, and you combine that with alcohol, do that. I'm also, obviously, I love video games and retro games. There are retro game bars that I've gone to and just sat down next to someone, had a beer, and talked about retro games, and then remained friends with them later. Horror movie themed bar, well, it's horror movies and heavy metal, but like one of my favorite bars in the world, called Deathmatch in Hell. I love horror movies, I love heavy metal, so it's perfect for me. So I'm going in there now, fairly friendly with the owner of the bar. I can go in there and talk with him whenever. But also every week, especially since that's kind of a tourist heavy area, every weekend I go in there, there's like new people in there, and I can sit and talk with them about horror movies and heavy metal. Just I want to say last weekend on that Saturday, I was actually in Deathmatch in Hell, and I want to say I made like 3 new friends that night that I all have online now. We'll probably get together again next weekend because we had so much fun talking about horror movies and heavy metal music and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's, if you are a person who likes a bit of drink. I'm not saying you have to go out there and get hammered every weekend or something, but if you're the type of person that likes to drink socially, there are no limit to the amount of bars that there are in Tokyo, and a lot of them will cater to some specific interest. Again, music and other various hobbies all combined with drinking. That just makes it that much more fun and makes it that much more likely that you're going to meet someone there that you have something in common with, aside from the fact that you're drunk. That helps you guys be extra friendly. And that exhausts my lists of how to make friends in Japan. But I think that's a pretty solid list. You can meet people online for practical reasons, or for learning, or just for meetups. You can go to festivals and conventions. You can go out drinking, and you can go find the perfect bar for you. There are all kinds of ways to make friends in Japan. I mean, this stuff obviously applies to Tokyo, which is what I always have in mind because that's where I live. But you could also apply these things pretty much anywhere in Japan. And again, in some cases, you can do this from home. You can make friends in Japan from wherever you are, and then it's going to be all that much sweeter when you do come out here and you guys finally get to meet and hang out, and really that friendship becomes complete. I don't really know. At this point, I'm rambling. But yes, making friends in Japan, not so hard. I think you will find if you come here that, generally speaking, Japanese people are more than friendly and more than willing to conversate and pal around, and they're actually, as you might be interested in them and their country and culture and language and all that, they're probably just as interested in you. When I tell people that I'm from Louisiana, a lot of them are like, wow, what the hell is that? A lot of people actually haven't heard of Louisiana. They don't really know what it is. But, you know, when I start talking about, there's New Orleans, and I start describing the food and the music and all that kind of stuff, they're like, holy shit. So, as interested in you are in Japanese culture, chances are they would be just as interested in yours. So, be social, don't be afraid to share a bit of yourself, and be open to whatever they have to share with you. And I think you'll do all right. You'll make a boatload of friends if you come to Japan. And that's all I have to say about that. I didn't shout anybody out this time, but to anyone who's ever asked me that question, I hope you're happy with the answer, and I hope you enjoyed listening. Take care, everyone. I will see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.